Tonight's On Reporting Scotland, it's 1 year to go until the Commonwealth Games return to Glasgow. We now know who the mascot is, but there's no mention of how we'll watch it, as no UK broadcaster has secured the rights to televise it.
These championships, I believe, should be on TV. As I mentioned earlier, there'll be young kids from different corners of even the UK looking at it and thinking, God, maybe one day I could represent Scotland. One day I could represent Northern Ireland, Guernsey.
Also on tonight's programme, preparations are underway in anticipation of the arrival of President Trump, but there's still concern about policing.
Thanks, and it's like, thank you for doing what you're doing and giving us the opportunity to put our son somewhere that is a beacon of hope and an opportunity for us to reconnect with our children.
The first purpose-built Neurodiversity support centre opened officially in the Highlands, helping to reduce the need for long-distance travel to access support. Archaeologists identify a 250-year-old shipwreck in Orkney as a vessel active during the American War of Independence.
And coming up in tonight's sport, Rangers teenage goal hero Finlay Curtis admits he couldn't sleep before his dream European debut, which earned praise from Sir Alex Ferguson.
Hello, I'm Laura Miller. Welcome to Wednesday's programme. Exactly a year today, the Commonwealth Games will kick off in Glasgow again. 12 years since the city last hosted them to great fanfare. This time round, though, organisers are telling us it will be very different, scaled back in terms of budget and sports. Another difference, no UK broadcaster has been secured yet to televise the event. One constant, though, the Games mascot, which was revealed today, as our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin reports.
With a year to go, meet Finny the Unicorn, the mythical, magical new mascot for a new Commonwealth Games. The national animal of Scotland, of course, this version designed by the children of Glasgow.
I designed her horn and her ears. I'm pleased and excited to see her come to life.
10 out of 10. I was really happy because when it came to voting, I actually voted for the unicorn.
The unveiling of the mascot is always the fun and fluffy side of the Games. Behind the scenes, though, work continues relentlessly, and there are some concerns about who will actually broadcast the Games. It's always been the BBC, but as it stands, there is no deal.
This week we've just announced Sky New Zealand as one of our new latest broadcast partners. We've also got Channel 7 in Australia, and there'll be news on a UK broadcaster later this year, so lots going on in a broadcast space.
Just look at him in the finishing straight. This was it, the spectacle of the whole spectacular meeting.
The BBC has been the principal broadcaster since the days of Roger Bannister in Vancouver in 1954. The corporation tied up the deal for Birmingham 2022 years before the event, but BBC sources have suggested the appetite from within the corporation for continuing its association is on the wane. The Scottish Government also had to be convinced. Now they want others to get on board.
I would encourage all parties to come to an agreement, because this is an opportunity for great sporting competitions to be shared around the world, and crucially, from Scotland's perspective, to make sure that Scotland can be showcased to the world as a consequence.
Whoever the broadcaster is, these Games will be very different. The smallest, in fact, in terms of sports in over 70 years, with just 10 in the programme. Just 4 venues in total will be used, with the opening ceremony likely to be in the Hydro. And the budget is also scaled back, £114 million. That's 5 times smaller than Glasgow 2014.
She's going to do it! She's going to emulate a man! Eilish McColgan is the Commonwealth champion!
A star of the Games says widespread TV coverage is crucial.
These championships, I believe, should be on TV. As I mentioned earlier, there'll be young kids from different corners of even the UK looking at it and thinking, God, maybe one day I could represent Scotland. One day I could represent Northern Ireland, Guernsey, wherever they're from.
So a unicorn, but no broadcaster. Glasgow 2026 has more magic to perform before everyone is convinced.
Well, let's speak to Chris now. Chris, in terms of the broadcast rights then, do you think there is a real possibility they won't be televised at all here?
Well, I think, Laura, a complete UK TV blackout is unlikely. A deal could yet be done with the BBC. It just seems at the moment within the corporation there doesn't seem to be much appetite. Now, organisers could bring in another broadcaster. In fact, they say they are talking to other people. But to lose that historic association with the national broadcaster at a time when the Games are looking to reset, convince people they have a future and convince people they are still relevant would be a huge blow. Now, organisers told me they are confident that in the coming months they will sign a deal with a UK broadcaster. Just who that broadcaster will be, it remains to be seen.
Well, indeed, a year to go, we shall see. Thank you, Chris. With 48 hours to go before the President of the United States arrives in Scotland, senior police officers have asked for the public's patience as they try to cope with the huge security operation. Along with accommodating Donald Trump's visit, Police Scotland will also have to deal with an unrelated rally and counter-protest in Glasgow city centre. Our Home Affairs correspondent David Cowan reports.
The build-up for the arrival of the most powerful man in the world continues. Donald Trump is coming for what's effectively a working holiday, but Aberdeen Airport was witnessing what's required when the US President visits for 5 days, with one military transporter unloading a US Sea King helicopter. Something different for the local plane spotters, as were the American Chinooks, which flew across the city yesterday. As many as 6,000 police officers could be involved in the security operation, with the cost running into millions covered by UK taxpayers. Senior officers say police resources will be stretched at every level.
The last time President Trump visited Scotland, there was 22 more superintendents and 4 more chief superintendents and 950 more police officers than there are in Scotland today. So if you can imagine the impact of that on an operation such as this, it's no wonder that we're having to rely so heavily on mutual aid and we're having to do things that would otherwise be anathema to us, such as 12-hour shifts.
Just as they did for COP26 4 years ago, other forces are supplying that extra manpower under mutual aid arrangements. But as if the visit of the President wasn't enough, this weekend we'll see another operational challenge. In Glasgow on Saturday afternoon, the UK Independence Party is planning to hold what it's calling a mass deportation rally with a procession through the city centre. A counter-demonstration is being planned by Stand Up to Racism. Glasgow City Council suggested changes to the route, which the UKIP organisers have accepted, but clearly it's a headache the police could do without. Even if they are smaller than the protests which took place in Glasgow last September, such events will require a significant police presence. In a statement, the force said, "We are aware of the event and will have an appropriate policing plan in place to maintain public safety, balance rights to peaceful protest and minimise disruption." President Trump is due to touch down on Scottish soil on Friday. David Cowan, reporting Scotland.
An NHS consultant has admitted breaching a warning not to discuss a case involving an altercation between a transgender doctor and a nurse while an investigation into the matter was being carried out. Dr. Kate Searle was also questioned about the sharing of messages among staff about the incident involving Dr. Beth Upton and nurse Sandy Peggy and the use of a female changing room at a hospital in Fife. Louise Cowie reports.
Dr. Kate Searle arrives to give evidence for a second day at the Employment Tribunal in Dundee. She is a consultant in emergency medicine and is Dr. Beth Upton's supervisor. Dr. Searle continued to be questioned about messages that were sent between staff in the aftermath of an altercation between Dr. Upton and nurse Sandy Peggy over the use of a female changing room at Victoria Hospital in Kirkcaldy, an incident that led to Miss Peggy's suspension. Dr. Searle denied knowingly withholding emails from the tribunal. Dr. Searle was asked about a healthcare worker Dr. Upton had told her had been present during another incident the doctor claimed had taken place. Dr. Upton had told Dr. Searle that Miss Peggy had refused to engage in conversation over a patient, something Dr. Upton said was witnessed by the other member of staff. When Miss Peggy's lawyer mentioned her name, Dr. Searle broke down. She said she was worried about getting someone involved in the process who had told her they didn't want to be involved.
Naomi Cunningham suggested Dr. Searle was trying to gather evidence from the healthcare worker to support Dr. Upton's version of events. Ms. Cunningham put it to her, "Were you horrified when I mentioned her name, not out of a desire to protect her, but out of a desire to protect yourself and the consequence of making up something she said?" Dr. Searle replied, "Absolutely not." When asked if speaking to the healthcare worker had been a flagrant breach of a warning not to breach confidentiality by discussing the case, Dr. Searle replied, "In hindsight, yes."
NHS Fife's lawyer later said Miss Cunningham's questions left a little to be desired. Last week, Sandy Peggy was cleared of allegations of misconduct, failures of patient care and misgendering Dr. Upton, who is a transgender woman, following an investigation by NHS Fife. Miss Peggy claims her treatment was unlawful under the 2010 Equality Act and brought the case against the Health Board. It denies this and is defending the action. The tribunal continues tomorrow. Louise Cowie, reporting Scotland, Dundee.
The Health Secretary has defended the government's efforts to tackle NHS waiting times. Around 1 in 9 people are currently on a waiting list for non-urgent care. Neil Gray says the government will deliver more than 300,000 additional appointments and procedures this year. But some charities say it doesn't go far enough and too many people continue to suffer while they wait for care. Our health correspondent Lisa Summers reports.
Hi folks. Hi, how are you?
At the start of this month, the Health Secretary met staff at Edinburgh Royal Infirmary.
Busy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like every other health board, it struggles to see all the patients waiting.
Addressing the routine waiting list is quite
A challenge, of course it will be. Yeah.
Nick had been waiting 1.5 years for a knee operation.
I mean, you've got to be patient with these kind of things. I'm well aware of the strain that the NHS is under, and I'm just thankful to be getting this at all. But obviously, it's hard to not be a little bit impatient when you're waiting for something that can hopefully improve your day-to-day.
NHS Lothian will benefit from additional money targeted at reducing waits. The government says across Scotland, it'll deliver 300,000 extra appointments and procedures this year.
Is that not just a drop in the ocean, given that we currently have about 1 in 9 of the population on a waiting list?
No, this will make a demonstrable impact. The investment that we're making this year will make a demonstrable impact in reducing the longest waits. It will also ensure that we speed up the overall process, because alongside the work that we're doing to reduce the longest waits in the system, we're also investing in making the whole system flow better.
So at the moment, we've got over 100,000 waits that are over a year long. So nobody will wait longer than a year for an appointment by this time next year.
That's our ambition. That is what we set out as a commitment within the budget, and the investments that we're making are about taking us towards that.
Some organisations warn this doesn't go far enough to help thousands of patients in need.
This is a really difficult time for those people, and we know that those people are facing debilitating health issues while they're waiting, or even losing their lives on the waiting list, and we need urgent action and consistent action to make sure that these issues are addressed.
Testing times continue for the NHS, but the government is promising improvements in the coming year. Lisa Summers reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
OK, Laura McKeever is here to tell us what's coming up on the news at 7 over on the BBC Scotland channel shortly. Laura, what have you got for us this evening then?
We'll be hearing about the law around protest, Laura, ahead of President Trump's visit. Also tonight, pensions. They're in the news this week. A new commission's looking at the issue, and the issue of maybe raising the age we're eligible for. So we'll be getting some expert advice on that. And also we hear a Scottish music journalist's stories, or one or two of them, about Ozzy Osbourne in Glasgow. You can imagine there's lots to tell there.
Yeah, not sure all of them will be able to be broadcast though. Thank you, Laura. To some of the day's other stories now. And the family of a 14-year-old boy who died after being hit by a car in East Ayrshire have paid tribute to him and urged witnesses to come forward. Aidan McCluckie was struck by a Vauxhall Corsa on the A76 near Hurlford on the 16th of July. He'd been crossing the bridge over the Cessnock Water when he was hit and died at the scene. Convicted drug smuggler J. Emmanuel Thomas has returned to football after being released from prison. The former Aberdeen and Livingston player had served more than 10 months of a 4-year sentence behind bars, having been jailed in June for masterminding the importation of £600,000 worth of cannabis from Thailand to London Stansted Airport. Emmanuel Thomas made his debut for the Hampshire side AFC Taunton yesterday. Now, Now, autistic people and their families are desperate for support, but the need is much greater in rural areas. That's according to one charity. Their comments come on the day they have officially opened a much-needed new facility in Dingwall. But services elsewhere in the country are closing as securing funding becomes ever more challenging. Ailey Davis reports.
It's like respite. You get exhausted with it. Do you know what I'm saying? And having this place and giving me a couple of hours spare helps me like catch up with the facilities around the house, really.
For families like those of 6-year-old Alfie, who's living with autism, this new neurodiverse support centre in the Highlands has been life-changing, but geography means not everyone can get dedicated support.
We were receiving referrals for our facility in Aberdeen from families in the Highland because there was nothing. That's how far they're having to go, for example. Now that's for me to drive to Aberdeen's a 3-hour drive. We couldn't meet the need in Aberdeen because the needs is so high, never mind a take on families from the Highlands. So when you hear of that, you can hear that the need is so great, and rural communities are really, really missing out hugely on a lot of different support.
The centre has been operating for 3 months now and has already made a big impact.
We're needing more of this, but then it's the funding and everything else is very shy at the moment, and it's not anybody's fault, but it's great that there's people actually putting their hands in their pocket and helping, and I don't think then people who are helping get enough recognition and thanks, and it's like, thank you for doing what you're doing and giving us the opportunity to put our son somewhere that is a beacon of hope and an opportunity for us to reconnect with our children.
Yeah. Many places, especially rural areas, could benefit from facilities just like this one here in Dingwall, but this has only been made possible thanks to a generous donation of £200,000, which Highland Council have matched for operating costs thanks to Scottish Government funding.
It is challenging. Nobody has enough money at the moment, and there is a lot of need out there. But you can see here today, it is possible. The art of the possible, coming together and working out what you can do together, is the first step.
It's hoped more facilities like this can be created, but securing long-term funding will be a challenge. Ailey Davis reporting Scotland, Dingwall.
Tonight's main news again. It's 1 year to go until the Commonwealth Games return to Glasgow. The official mascot has been unveiled, but there's no mention of how we'll watch it, as no UK broadcaster has secured the right.
Still to come in tonight's sport, we'll hear from Rangers goal hero Finlay Curtis and look ahead to more European action tomorrow night. Now, it seems the mystery of a shipwreck discovered on a beach in Orkney during a storm last year has been solved. Experts say tree ring dating, where the rings in the wood are counted to establish the age of the tree, as well as analysis of the type of wood, suggests it's from an 18th century Royal Navy vessel used during the American War of Independence. David Delday reports.
Uncovered by a winter storm. At the time, just an astonishing piece of unidentified ancient shipwreck. As the tide rushed in, the community rushed in faster.
When we heard about the wreck, Rod Thorne, who ex-head teacher at the school, he managed to get some ex-pupils, we were farmers with equipment, to actually take the wreck from the sands of Ayr Bay up to the heritage centre.
The timbers were eventually placed in a custom-built tank. People eager to find out where they came from. Tree ring dating suggested a mid-18th century ship, crucially built using wood from the south of England. Those details cross-referenced with well over 200 known wrecks in the area.
A lot of those vessels are coming from the Baltic states, Poland and Germany, Netherlands, or other parts of Northern Europe, or they're coming from Northern England, Northwest England, Cumbria, and so they don't match up with the dendro work at all. And what you find is that Earl of Chatham is pretty much the last one left.
The Earl of Chatham began life as HMS Hind in the Royal Navy. She would have looked much like this. Sister ship HMS Dolphin, a 6-rate 24-gun frigate. The vessel was involved in the sieges of Louisbourg and Quebec in the 1750s and the American Revolutionary War in the late 1770s, before becoming a whaling ship.
It was quite a small battleship, so suitable for like icy waters and therefore suitable for that type of work. And we understand that on the 4th season, it obviously hit some trouble in sandy waters and ended up being wrecked. fortunately without any loss of life. We do understand that there were 56 survivors and they were all cared for on the island.
The community is now deciding what to do next with the shipwreck. Some hope that it can be conserved and put on public display, making sure it plays a much more prominent role in the island, where it has lain hidden for well over 2 centuries. David Daly, reporting Scotland, Orkney.
OK, let's get tonight's sport now with Sheila. And it was a big night for Rangers last night and some of their players.
Yeah, big night for Finlay Curtis. Make me feel very old. And it bodes well for a big week of European football for Scottish clubs. Let's see how the rest of the week goes. Hello there. Rangers' new teenage star, Finlay Curtis, says he was congratulated by Sir Alex Ferguson after scoring the opening goal in the Ibrox side's Champions League qualifying win against Panathinaikos. The 18-year-old was making his first start for Rangers and helped his club to a 2-goal lead ahead of next week's second leg. It's all change at Ibrox with new owners, a new head coach and 7 new players, with 3 of them making their debuts from the start. But it was one of their academy graduates who lit up the stage at the start of the second half. Curtis' goal bringing joy and relief to Ibrox after Panathinaikos had spurned some great chances to take the lead. And the Greeks had it all to do when Georgios Vagianidis saw red for a second booking. The host took full advantage, new recruit Jide Gassama blasting in a second. He only arrived from Sheffield Wednesday last week. Not a bad way to endear yourself to the new fans. After the match, Curtis said it was a night he'll never forget and talked about the moment he told his family he was playing.
Texted my mum and dad, told them, and they started crying. So yeah, it was a good family moment. My mum came through to me and was like, "You need to get to sleep and all that." But I was on top of it. I was excited, and I didn't get much sleep. But woke up this morning and yeah, I'm just buzzing.
It was intense. It was honestly, the crowd were incredible tonight. So I'm really grateful for that, and hopefully they've gone away feeling that this could be an exciting season for their team and their club. And we will give it everything we can to make that the case.
Well, Dundee United and Hibernian also enter the European fray this week, with United boss Jim Goodwin telling the club's fans to expect a big performance against Luxembourg's Una Strazen in their Conference League qualifier. United have signed 11 new players over the summer, so it could be an unfamiliar-looking side striding out at Tannadice for the first leg. And although it may take time for them to gel, Goodwin says some of his players are fitter than ever.
You know, this is a massive game for us as a group, for us as a club, for the country as well. You know, I think we all want the Scottish teams to be successful in these European competitions. And, you know, with that, it brings a little bit of added pressure. And it's been probably the hardest pre-season that a number of these players have done during their careers, and we made them aware of the fact at the beginning that it was going to be tough. But I'm delighted with the players' application and their response to what we've put on in terms of the sessions, and I think that will show in the performances that are about to come in the next 10 days.
Hibernian have arrived in Denmark for their Europa League qualifier against Michelin as they look to pick up where they left off after a great end to the season. This is the host training in the town of Herning this afternoon, and Michelin have decent pedigree, making it to the knockout phase playoffs in the Europa League last season. Hibs' flight was a little bit delayed, so we can't hear from head coach David Gray, but we have been speaking to his opposite number.
It's a club who has been in a very good period. I can see at home everybody struggles against them. And we have seen they have good players. It's a strong team, and I know they'll play with the heart and the brain. So we are ready for 2 interesting games. The first one tomorrow.
Now to rugby, and Darcy Graham says he's gutted that his lifelong dream of playing for the British and Irish Lions lasted just 16 minutes after an injury sustained in yesterday's victory over a Nations and Pacifica 15 brought an end to his short-lived tour in Australia. Graham was called up to the squad as a late replacement and scored a try in his first start, but a foot injury just a few minutes later saw him hobble off the pitch in Melbourne in tears. The Lions take on the Wallabies in the second test on Saturday. Tennis, and Cameron Norrie has secured his first victory over a top 10 player in 2.5 years. Norrie had to dig deep to beat world number 7 Lorenzo Musetti 3-6, 6-2, 6-3 in the second round at the Washington Open. The 29-year-old will play American 14th seed Brandon Nakashima in the last 16. And that match is also tomorrow.
Good stuff. Lots happening in the world of sport at the moment. Sheila, what's happening in the world of weather? Christopher?
Not a lot, actually. It's quite quiet.
Just put your feet up then. It's fine.
Well, I wish. Lots of cloud around, bit of sunshine, lots of pictures, though, from our weather watchers, as ever, and a bit more sunshine in the forecast tomorrow. Thank you very much indeed. Good evening to you. Yes, it's been mostly dry today, fairly cloudy, although the sun did break through at times. 1 or 2 light showers. Some evening spells of sunshine at the moment, a bit hazy in the west, and then overnight tonight it's largely dry with variable clouds, some clear spells. Bit of low cloud around parts of the west coast and across the hills, and temperatures in towns and cities 11 to 14 Celsius, 1 or 2 light showers there in the north, light winds. To tomorrow, and we have a ridge of high pressure overhead, so it's predominantly dry, and after a cloudy start it should improve with some decent spells of sunshine set to develop through the afternoon. So if you've been starved of prolonged sunshine so far this week, tomorrow looks a bit better. In the sunshine, temperatures responding 21, 22, maybe 23 degrees. In the east, Edinburgh, Dundee, Aberdeen, that cloud just taking a little bit longer to lift, but certainly in the west, a pretty decent afternoon with some sunshine. A mixed fare across Orkney and Shetland, the chance of 1 or 2 showers. However, as we head in towards tomorrow evening, we've got a warm front approaching from the west, bringing thickening cloud and some spots of light rain or drizzle. That moves eastwards, and you can see it on the chart there as we head through towards Friday, the cold front following on behind. So Friday gets off to a bit of a cloudy start, a few spots of light rain or drizzle, but like tomorrow, it should improve, brightening up as we head through towards the afternoon. A fresher feel as well, with winds coming in from the west-southwest, with afternoon highs for most around 17 to 20 Celsius, but in the northeast still reaching 22. And then to the weekend, and we've got low pressure up towards Iceland, just squeezing that high pressure out the way, and this little feature will arrive on Sunday, bringing some showers. But Saturday looks the pick of the 2 days this weekend, mostly dry and bright, some spells of sunshine, not wall-to-wall sunshine, but some sunshine. Temperatures around about the high teens for most. On Sunday, still largely dry through central, southern and eastern Scotland, but you can see those showers arriving in the west and northwest, 1 or 2 on the heavy side. Once again, temperatures 17 to 19 degrees mid-afternoon. That's the forecast for now.
Thank you, Christopher. Now tonight's main news again. Exactly a year today, the Commonwealth Games will kick off in Glasgow, but so far no UK broadcaster has secured the rights to televise it. And that is Reporting Scotland for now. Laura McKeever will have your late news at 10:30 tonight. Until then, from everyone on the T, enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.